Hey church, it's Mariah here with the Midweek word on service. So I grew up in a Christian home, I went to a Christian school and I went to Sunday school. So I heard a lot about service and the idea of putting other people before yourself. But the question I've always had is, what does that actually look like practically in my own life? Paul writes in Philippians chapter 2, "Be free from pride-filled opinions, for they will only harm your cherished unity. Don't allow self-promotion to hide in your hearts, but in authentic humility, put others first and view others as more important than yourselves. Abandon every display of selfishness. Possess a greater concern for what matters to others instead of your own interests. And consider the example that Jesus, the Anointed One, has set before us. Let his mindset become your motivation." That is an incredibly high calling, and it's something that a lot of us would aspire to. But again, I have that question. What does that look like in the nitty-gritty ins and outs of our everyday lives? Sorry, that was a bird just flying by. A few years ago, I stayed in Africa in a mission base. And my favorite thing to do in my free time was to go to the baby house and to play with the babies and to just give them cuddles. But one day I noticed that there was a little girl there, and she wasn't a baby. She was about 8 years old. And the reason she was in the baby house was because she had such significant developmental delays that she couldn't walk, she couldn't crawl, she couldn't move herself at all, she couldn't communicate or even engage. And when I saw her, my heart broke. All day long, she would just lay on the ground until someone would move her elsewhere. And I asked a really practical question. I said, "Jesus, how would you serve this little girl?" And I closed my eyes and I imagined what Jesus would do. And I saw a picture of Jesus sitting with this little girl in his lap, and he fed her Oreos. So I knew what I was going to do the next day. And I was a little bit annoyed about it because I was saving some Oreos for myself. And in Africa, we only got beans and rice every day, but I decided that's what I was going to do. So I fed this little girl my Oreos. And even though she couldn't communicate, I could tell that she was just loving them. She was gobbling them up so fast that she was almost biting my fingers. And in that tiny act of service, that tiny act of sacrifice, I felt the love of Jesus flowing through me. And it was such a joy and an honor to be the hands and feet of Jesus on this side of eternity. Because in heaven, there's going to be no more crying or mourning or sickness or pain. So we've got a really awesome opportunity on earth. I've been watching the Michael Jordan documentary with Zach, and there was a quote by MJ that really stood out to me. He said, "You'll never hear me ask you to do something that I haven't already done." And I thought of Jesus in that moment. Jesus invites us on the journey of sacrifice and service because he's already been on that path and he's walking on that path with us. I know that there are some people in our church family who are absolutely incredible at serving. As soon as there's a need, you're meeting it, and I admire you and respect you so much. But maybe you're more like me, and it's a bit more of a struggle. Maybe you're not as practical. Maybe it just doesn't come as naturally. I want to encourage you to ask the super practical question, "Jesus, how would you serve here?" His answer might surprise you. Maybe it'll be share your Oreos. Maybe it'll be watch that sport documentary that you're really not interested in. Sorry, Zach. But no matter how insignificant you may think that it is, it's all significant because what you do for the least of these, you do for Jesus himself.